And we're going to get Rob Rash, CEO and chief engineer of the Levy District, made his accusations Saturday during a candidate forum. And he said that he told candidates that FEMA officials told him the agency owes $20 billion to the U.S. Treasury, and the only way they can get it is through flood insurance premiums. And I'm getting calls about this in Austin and all over the country. People with hilltop houses are being told they've got to buy flood insurance, and FEMA's ordering them to do it, just like we're being ordered to buy overpriced insurance from the insurance companies who wrote the health care bill. I mean, this is a mafia situation where private interests come in, lobby the government to make you buy their product, and then they're bringing in hordes of illegal aliens to menace the public into going along with this. I mean, this is a horrible recipe.
It really, really is. And what is really sickening about this whole thing is when you understand that because the Federal Reserve is at the top of this whole corrupt pyramid, they're doing it all with counterfeit money. It's not like they're putting anything of real value into the pockets of the politicians. They simply print up whatever they need. It's a counterfeiting system, and they've used it to subvert the entire U.S. government to their own personal corporate interests. Everybody's trained to worship those little green paper notes, but that's all they are, pretty printed pieces of paper. They don't represent real value. Bernanke is just printing them up as he needs them.
And that false economy admits they are waging war against the real economy and consolidating. It's about power and criminal consolidation. And again, here is Bloomberg yesterday saying that it's probably somebody who's against the health care bill, a nut. So you're a nut. Now 80% of the American people in major polls, you are a car bomber, basically, is what he's saying. Here it is.
Law enforcement officials don't know who left the Nissan Pathfinder behind, but at this point, the mayor believes the suspect acted alone.
If I had to guess 25 cents, this would be exactly that. Somebody who's homegrown, maybe a mentally deranged person or somebody with a political agenda that doesn't like the health care bill or something. It could be anything.
It could be anything. Now, let's go to another clip from A Bug's Life that I played yesterday. I'm going to play this again because this is all about intimidation. This is why the banks want to wreck the economy. This is why in their own memos they engineered it to cause the implosion, because then they're the only ones flush with bailout money. They shut off all the loans. The states, the counties, the cities, the individuals all go bankrupt, and the grasshoppers are in command. Here it is.
There was that ant that stood up to me.
Yeah, but we can forget about him.
Yeah, it was just one ant. One ant.
Yeah, you're right. It's just one ant.
Yeah, boss. They're puny.
Puny? Say, let's pretend this brain is a puny little ant. Did that hurt?
Nope.
Well, how about this one?
Are you kidding?
How about this?
And he dumps the whole load out on him.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay?
He's quite the motivational speaker, isn't he?
Okay, so let's be clear what Mike brought up earlier. Illegal aliens attack police, set buildings on fire with people in them, run around with torches like Frankenstein or something coming up to the castle, and the media says on ABC, these are good people. They interview people who agreed with them and said they have a right to do it. Now, imagine if the Tea Party did that. So what do you need to know about the illegal aliens, folks? The media and the globalists are for them. That's all I need to know. And meanwhile, they're saying anyone who's against the banks, oh, you're just a right-wing Tea Party person, to keep Hispanics and blacks and Asians from feeling like they can be with the rest of the American people against the illegitimate banking cartel that's taken over. And you have the media demonizing anyone who doesn't want health care as a racist to invoke racial division when we should all be together against globalist policies, period. They know what they are doing. And the problem is the illegal aliens could be a great ally for freedom. And many of them are hardworking, good people. But a large portion have been taught via the federal government and Ford Foundation. That's where it started. The U.S. government funded this in Mexico 50 years ago, and the U.S., that the U.S. belongs to Mexico, the Southwest does, and that Americans are evil. I saw a Zogby poll where 70+% of the immigrants from Mexico hate America, but 80+% of Americans like Mexico. See, this is the brainwashing. So Mexico can be used as a weapon, not to give the Mexicans freedom, but to turn us into a corrupt plutocracy like that. Mike Rivero.
Well, you know, it's rather interesting. It's your classic divide and conquer tactic. We've seen it so many years before. There's always a divide being imposed on our society. Black against white, rich against poor, young against old, men against women. I remember during the 1990s, this very obvious fanning of hatred between the genders. And to me, that was kind of the warning sign that our government was getting ready to launch a major campaign of wars because men were being recast as disposable in our society. All the focus was put on women in business and women as heads of household and women as the providers and caregivers for the family, and men were being treated as disposable. And it was pretty obvious to me that the agenda then was somebody is getting ready to put a bunch of rifles in the hands of men and ship them off and not have the American people remaining behind, the women and the children, care that much about it because they're just icky-poo men.
That's right. They were neutralizing women's natural love and defense of their men. When families are the species, men and women, a man isn't the human race, a woman isn't the human race. We are the fusion of humanity, and they know that, so they drive that wedge in there. Well, it's been declassified, admitted that Miss Magazine was funded by the CIA to get women into the workforce so that the government could have the kids and work people to death. Again, it's all so cold-blooded. They've destroyed the natural human order.
Well, you know, if you go back and you look at World War II, and there was that whole Rosie the Riveter campaign, and, you know, get the women into the factory so the men could go to the front lines, and then once the war was over, we saw all these TV shows like Father Knows Best and Betty Crocker that just extolled the virtues of the woman going back into the home and being the housewife and the mother to get her out of the factory so that the returning soldiers could have jobs again. And it was all this very cynical manipulation of the general population. And I'd like to hope that Americans are now sophisticated enough to recognize when it's being done again.
Exactly. And then the bankers said, look, we can have double the tax money and have their kids. Now, get them in the factories.
13 made his great-grandchildren believe you could live to 103. 103 is forever.
All right, Mike Rivero is going to be with us about 15 minutes to the next hour.
So
then I'm going to try to spend some time on race-based politics and explain to new listeners my view on this and how the globalists are using this to control populations. I'm going to go to Tim, Julio, and others here right now. Again, Mike Rivero is our guest. Tim in Ohio, thanks for holding her on the air.
Hi, Mike. Alex.
Yes, sir.
Events over this past weekend were the perfect illustration of your new phrase, propaganda placement. You know, I worked in TV news for over 12 years, and November, July, February, and May are sweeps months for ratings used to set the advertising prices. So I was always extremely suspicious of any story that breaks at the beginning of a sweeps month, because all Sunday long, the news channels were just beating the drum about terror attacks. And then, on Sunday night, The Simpsons was about the city finding plutonium and suspending civil liberties, putting cameras up everywhere. I have a really cryptic clip.
And I have a 6-minute promo video put out by News Corp bragging that they are placing propaganda in The Simpsons, and the federal government is paying now openly. They were always doing it, but now openly to brainwash. Go ahead.
I got a little clip ready for it. It's about 60 seconds from the show. You want to hear it?
Go ahead.
Here it comes.
This just in, the suspicious bag detonated at Springfield Union Station today contained deadly plutonium, which can only mean one thing: a terrorist plot.
I admit it. Everything I've said about terrorism till now was fear-mongering. But today I monger the truth. To protect our city from all future bombings, dirty, clean, dive, or carpet, we have hired an outside consultant from London, England.
London is now ringed by the most comprehensive array of surveillance cameras mankind has ever seen.
Excuse me, is this what the framers of the Constitution would want?
Well, I'm Wally of Wally's Framers, and this is exactly what I want.
How many personal freedoms are we willing to give up in the name of security?
That blonde girl thinks she's smart.
Now all in favor of these cameras, say cheese. Cheese! Those opposed, say I hate America.
What? Oh.
Motion carries.
Is that cryptic enough for you?
Well, and it's sold like they're Ford Liberties, but what it does is condition. Mike Rivero.
Yeah, it is. Actually, I think it was quite an interesting commentary on there. I'm not sure it's entirely in support of surveillance cameras there with the humor involved and everything. But I think it does illustrate the kind of processes that are going along with trying to scare people into a certain point of view.